Hi, welcome to Make or Repair. About 18 months ago, I recorded a repair on this Sage Oracle coffee maker. I'll link it in below. The main problems in that first video related to overheating and, as it turned out, a pressure problem as well. But in this video, I'm going to look at what sounds like drops of water leaking onto hot parts, and there's also some steam coming out the back that's proving that really. And also, more recently, it's been having a problem getting water pushed through the coffee. A couple of reasons that might be, explore those later. Along the way, I'll have to make a tool to get at a tricky part, and I'll also have to deal with the dreaded airlock problem that can occur during descaling, and I'll show you how to avoid that. Now, people often ask about tool sizes, so here we go. You need size 1 and size 2 Phillips head screwdrivers. Simple ones with about 4-inch long shafts will be most useful, because there are a couple of recessed screws, and for the back you'll need a Torx size T20. You'll need something to snip cable ties, and of course replacement ties, and some pointy nose pliers to pull out spring clips without dropping them. There's a couple of difficult to get at pipes, and for that you need bent nose pliers. Or, as you'll see, a tool you can make just to do the job. That's about it, but of course you might need spares and suitable spanners for them, but nothing unusual. So, quick visual inspection, and it's not looking too bad. I'd say there might be some limescale on top of this boiler here, and a bit of scale on this valve. I've also noticed that clicking on and off a bit more than usual, so maybe a pressure problem. A few of the cable ties are broken, so I'm going to need to replace those. Up here down here, however, things aren't looking quite so happy. And definitely it looks like the pipe into the valve has some scale on it. So I'm just really surveying, and it looks like a couple of places with leaks, but mainly okay. And of course there are quite a lot of corroded screw heads and things like that from the steam that I'll try and look at replacing. I think mainly okay. I'm hoping I can get away with just a few replacement O-ring seals for the valve and the boiler, but I'll need to run it with the lid open to see better. There's a lot of steam coming out right here. There you go. Oh, in fact I can see the leak. Huh. Just like that, I can see it. It's on this pipe. I just came to move this pipe. I was thinking, oh, it's just a little bit misshapen at this end. I'll just see how it flexes back. And underneath this valve, there's a manifold, and it's just, yeah. If I lift this, it just pours out of it. So I'm going to guess, actually, it's probably nothing more than an O-ring, if I'm really lucky. And if we look just here on the top of this electrical connection, there we can see some problem just there. So the water level probe is seeping, but the main leak looks like they're coming from the valve base and also perhaps further down from the inlet on the side of the steam boiler. That's really awkward to get at, but I'll try and show you it. So using the mobile microscope, there is the side of the boiler and a very scaled up port for the water inlet pipe. So I'm pretty convinced that water is coming back out of that under pressure once that boiler heats up. Unfortunately, you can see it's really tricky to get in and remove clips and such like. Now this is really hot at the moment, so I need to let it cool down for about an hour or so. In the meantime, these are the long bent nose pliers that I'm planning to use for the valve. Hopefully they'll be able to get into that kind of awkward place, grip the clip securely, because if I drop it, it will be an absolute disaster. But they might be too bulky for the boiler, so I'll show you instead how I modified some forceps when we get to that bit. First you need to empty the boilers to work on them, and opening the descale screws will probably empty one of them, but you need to go into the descale option in the menus to release a valve so that they both empty. And you just do that by holding down the one cup and pressing the power on for a few seconds. Now I can replace the O-ring in the valve, but being an idiot I managed to block the shot with my head and hands, but it is the same as all the other pipes, and I'll show you it more clearly with the boiler pipe. I have taken off the earth wire and another wire on the other side, and that's given me a lot more access. And now I'm just actually in the last stages trying to get the clip back in, and I'm using these bent nose pliers because it is still quite awkward to access, although taking those wires off does give a lot more accessibility. So I've just got to reach that very awkward. There's the usual type of clip, the same type of clip that we see on there. It's just, unfortunately, the hoop on the clip is underneath. So somehow I've got to withdraw that, get the pipe out, change the O-ring and reinsert it and get that clip back in again. And it's going to be really awkward. Okay, so I've tried to get in there with some tweezers and things like that, haven't succeeded, so I've modified a pair of forceps to have a very, very sharp bend on it, almost 90 degrees. Sometimes it can be handy to modify a tool, and I'm going to show you how I change the straight nose forceps into a pair with an almost right angle bend. You do need a gas torch for this because if you try it cold, they will snap. And so I'm going to demonstrate on this pair that have got a slight curve. I want to make them more like 45 degrees. So first I latch it lightly so it's correctly parallel, and then I hold it with a pair of pliers because the handle is going to get really, really hot. I need to heat the end to bright orange, and then I just ease it into shape in a metal vise. Sometimes the ends can spread open a little, so if that happens you just heat it again and use the vise to pinch them closed. I let it cool for quite a while and then quench it in water. If we quench it too soon, it makes it brittle potentially, and if you do that, then pop it in an oven for about 200 centigrade for about an hour and just let it cool naturally. That will ease it back again. It comes out a bit tarnished, but you can polish that up with some fine oxide paper or wire wool or something like that, and then it's job done. And there she is. Whew! That was a tricky so-and-so. So now I'm going to pull out that pipe and hope that the O-ring comes out with it. Hopefully that one's pushed out the way enough as well. I've just got it held in there with a screwdriver. And now I should have access. So I want to pull this out squarely if I can. Come on out. Here she comes. Whew, there it is. To be honest, this O-ring isn't looking particularly suspicious, but let's give it a good clean up all the way around this thing. There's loads of limescale on here. So I'm just applying a small amount of citric acid to this. 10% solution for those interested. Make sure everything is nicely cleaned up. I'm happy that there are no breaks in this plastic. I don't see any at all. So I'm just making sure I've got citric acid going to that cup where that O-ring goes. Now I shall get some plain water and just rinse that through. So just a cloth saturated in distilled water is what I'm using. There we go. Brand new O-ring. Also just going to clean the port out a little bit with this pipe cleaner. Same deal, a little bit of citric acid, a little bit of distilled water. I can't really see what's going on in there. But I have to assume it's not in great condition. Is that a rinse out? Okay, so I think that's done. Now we need just a little bit of silicone grease to wipe onto just on this O-ring. Again, I'm not trying to lather it with it. I just want it to be sufficient. And now I just need to try and persuade this to go in where it's supposed to be. Okay, we're pretty good there. It's just not fully in. I think we're in there. And now we'll put this clip back in. I'm going to put it in from the top downwards because it'll be a lot easier to take out next time. Okay. Oh, I've dropped it. Ah. Unfortunately, that is a long way down. Holy smoke. Having failed for about the last 30 minutes to fish it out with a magnet, I've decided to order a new one. It happens to be the same size as one off the boiler, so I'll take that off and see what I can find to match it. And while I wait for that to arrive, I'll also see if I can have a go at fabricating one myself. That's if I can find some stainless wire a fabricated one best I can. I'm going to use that on the top of the boiler where I can get easy access to replace it later, and put the proper one down the side. That's my plan. And we're in, and that works really well actually, no problem at all. Right, let's try the one on the side again and try really hard not to drop the damn thing. Positioning is actually the tricky part. It's also very easy to knock the pipe and misalign things, then the clip won't actually go in at all. And the clip does need to be straight and needs a fair amount of pressure to actually clip into place. And I'm actually moving around and just giving it a last sort of push to firmly seat it home. And we're in. Excellent. Whew, that took a bit of doing. And there's lots of wires and things that need tightening up. Let's put some water in it. And so I've put the water container back in, I've attached the coffee dispenser, and I'm now ready to fill the boilers. I've gone into the descale menu to do this. So the single shot button will switch between attempting to refill and then releasing the valves to empty the boilers. And that releasing also allows some venting, but I'm not opening the little screws. Now the pump isn't stopping after a couple of minutes, so it's taking too long to fill, and the water level has only dropped 5 or 8 millimeters. So I've accidentally turned it off instead of pressing the single shot, but I'll turn it back on, going to descale, and you will hopefully hear the valve release. So that's releasing some pressure. I also like to activate the manual steam wand to force that solenoid open and closed. Now pressing the single shot button will switch back to filling the boilers, and this time the water level is dropping more. We can keep repeating this single shot pressing button as often as we need until we coax some water out of it. There we go, there's our water that we were waiting for. So that's great. Yeah, it's turned off, so that's good. Let's just let it heat normally now. Okay, that's all sounding good. We're getting to the point where we're getting a bit of water out of the steam one, but obviously not hot enough yet. But well, we find out whether there's an airlock or not, because if there is an airlock, this isn't going to go up to 93. I think we're going there. And there we have it, 93. All the lights are on. Let's try dispensing a single shot. There's our pre. And now we should increase the pace. Yeah, that's fine. Do we have any steam coming out the inside? I think the answer to that is no, we don't. Happy days. Yes. Yeah, steam one's working great. So I think I'm happy with that. I'm going to reassemble that. I'm going to replace all those rusty screws. I'd forgotten one problem was it's not pushing enough water through the coffee. So the next section is filmed in my kitchen with my mobile phone. Hopefully it's going to make sense. So let's see how well it dispenses. So this is the section that dampens it, and it should be dispensing now. And oh, look at that! That is dreadful. That is awful. So it is dispensing, but it's really, really slow. Probably loads of tremor, but yeah, way too slow. I'm going to stop that, I think. So I'm 30 seconds in. I've got about half the amount of coffee I should have got in that time frame. This is a double basket, so yeah, I should have more than that, that is for sure. Pretty awful. So the three obvious reasons I can think of why water might not be getting through the coffee. One, it's overground, so there's a problem with the grind setting. Two, the pressure is insufficient, so I've fitted this pressure gauge, I'm going to measure that. And the third is actually the tamping part of the system, that it might be over tamping. So first up, let's measure the pressure. Now, I'm doing a static pressure test on this, and it will be a bit higher than your flow pressure. So your flow pressure, in this country, you'd expect it to be, between, let's say about 8-ish to 9-ish. And that will give me a static pressure of about 9 to 10. I like mine a little bit on the high side, so I can do my grind a bit finer. So to begin with, of course, it doesn't register much because we're just kind of damping the coffee, so to speak, and now our pressure is going up. And yeah, there we go. So we're between 9 and 10. So I'm pretty happy with that. That's just where it should be, really. I will do a little project where I make a one that will measure the pressure while it is flowing, because that would be much more accurate. Anyway, there we go. Pressure's okay. Take a quick look at these burrs just to see if there's anything I can do there, or if there's any obvious problem. Yeah, maybe a little bit of wearing, just like it's been adjusted perhaps a shade too tight, but nothing too bad. So if we take a look inside, here's our adjustment knob, and it has a belt right here. There's also a tensioner, and that's adjustable using this screw. And then we follow back and we have this right angle cog going underneath and meshing with some gears underneath, and as that turns it adjusts the burr spacing. Now this big cog on the outside joins onto the sensor, which is that little white cog at the front. Yep, I'm turning this back and you can kind of see this rotating, and then it kind of stops, and I reckon that's 0, but I'm reading 20 odd, so I'm just going to ease that off a bit because I don't want it that tight. There, 26. So I want that to be 0. So you can kind of see here what's happening. This has come out of mesh. So I've undone the back screw just here, and this now swings out and I can adjust it. And as I adjust it, there we have it. There's our minimum. And then I'll run it back in so it makes good contact, because I do not want this to slip again. So I don't know if that's got any adjustable springiness in it, but yeah, we want that contact to work well. There's no adjustment that I can see, so I've used a drill and slotted the back hole on the sensor. That way I can swing it a bit closer and improve the meshing and avoid buying a whole new grinding enclosure. We'll get the screw back in. Done up, and hopefully these gears will mesh nicely and my problem will be over. So ground at 23, let's see if this is any better. So I've done the fix, let's hope for a better result. So this is ground at 23. Now it might be that I need some slight adjustment on that because things will be different, but oh yeah, that's looking pretty good. In fact, it might be a shade fast. But 23, 21, 23 previously was completely hopeless, and now it is, well, we're looking at a 23-second dispense, which is not bad timing actually, and not quite enough crema. So I do need a few adjustments, but pretty good indeed. Happy with that. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed seeing how I tackled the problems, and hopefully it might help a few people solve their own. Now, please remember to like the video, subscribe, click on the little notify bells, and of course comment and share. So bye for now.